Good evening and welcome to the January 11th, 2023 meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We want to welcome everyone here, all of our men in blue, and a man in blue on his way. So let me, it's customary that we have a moment of silence. This evening, as we look ahead to 2023, let's all contemplate good health and happiness in 2023. Please join the board. Thank you. Let's please join the board in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Lewis, are there any changes to the agenda?
There's one change, Mr. Chairman. Item 11A4 is being removed from the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. We have a special action. And may I invite Chief Hearn to come and introduce our soon-to-be new officer.
Good evening, board members and community members. Tonight we're here this evening for the swearing-in of Police Officer Justin Abenizio. Justin is a 24-year-old who resides with the parents in Warrenton Township, Bucks County. He graduated Central Bucks High School in 2017, Chinoa Valley University with a criminal justice degree in 2022, and completed the Pennsylvania Municipal Police Officers Training Program at Temple University in October of 2022. Tonight he is supported by his parents, who's in attendance, his family, his friends, and even his grandfather. Based on testing requirements, pre-employment background investigations, and known and learned information, Justin comes highly recommended and would appear to be an outstanding addition to our team. So at this time, I would like to welcome Judge Mick Petrucci for swearing in. Judge? Thank you, Chief. I think. Yeah. Yes. Is this good?
Yeah.
So you're going to do you guys want to position yourself. You're going to hold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, terrific. Are you ready? Yep. I'm going to go slow for you. Perfect. Repeat after me. I, Justin Abenizio,
I, Justin Abenizio,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
and the governmental subdivision
and the governmental subdivision
of Newtown Township,
of Newtown Township,
including those otherwise contracted
including those otherwise contracted
by a law enforcement services agreement,
by a law enforcement services agreement,
and that I will discharge
and I will discharge
the duties as a police
the
officer
duties as a police officer
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Welcome to Newtown Township.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Great job.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Justin to the force. You've joined a great team with excellent leadership, and you'll do well. Shall we take a few minutes to do some pictures?
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right.
We'll come back to order. Come back to order, and our next item on the agenda is public comment. I'm glad I'm not commenting because I don't have a voice left already. So anyone who would like to give public comment can come to the podium, state their name and where they live in Newtown. And, okay, seeing none. We do have a special guest this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Board members, Warren Gormley, Newtown Sewer Authority. I'm here tonight to talk about the rate increase and answer any questions that you might have. I used to be able to remember a lot, but I have to write a lot down now. So just a little back history. Bucks County Water and Sewer, as you well know, was looking to get purchased by Aqua America last year for the cost of $1.1 billion. So with the public outcry and so on, that deal has been squashed, and they have, I believe, pulled their offer with Bucks. So that left Bucks with the Neshaminy Interceptor, who Bucks owns the Neshaminy Interceptor, where 13 municipalities, including Newtown, all flow into, and that carries it to Philadelphia for treatment. So now Bucks County has instituted a rate increase, one of three. It's in 3 phases. I only know of the first phase, and the first phase was a new bond issue of $60 million. Bucks then proceeded to forward a rate increase to everyone, wholesale customers, of 16.6%. And in Newtown Sewer Authority, we have asked for any of the paperwork regarding the 3 phases, and what I have from their, what I received, I'm sorry, from their, is their Chief Financial Officer, Jason Hilliard, is that, yes, Bucks County can get you the engineering plan once it is finalized. As soon as we have all this in order, we will send it out. This was on November 16th of 2022, so I do not have that information yet to talk about. When I do, I could forward that on as well. The authority instituted that rate increase starting January 1st. And the reason we did that is because we have 3 cycles that we bill from, A, B, and C. In each cycle, we have roughly 3,000 customers in that cycle. And as you well know, Dennis, you were at the meeting yesterday, our meeting. What happens is Bucks always bills in arrears. So our bill that we were paying for January was actually November's flow from Bucks. So basically, if we would have waited until the increase comes in from Bucks, we would have been in March of a billing cycle, where when you look at our billing cycle, it's January, February, and March for each cycle. We would have one cycle being billed twice, where other 2 would be not. So what happened is, this is the most equitable way to do this, starting January 1st for all the ratepayers.
Questions?
Yeah, any questions? Sure.
Well, you didn't mention, I think, the most important fact that the Newtown Sewer Authority, as a consequence of this, is going to raise the rates for in Newtown itself.
Yeah, correct.
Can you talk about that? I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
That's all right. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yes, what happened is the authority, we had to institute a rate increase, and it's a part of a pass-through increase. One is the 16.6%. The increase was a total of 20%, but 16.6 of it is Bucks County Water and Sewer. The remainder was our fixed costs have been going up, since I believe the last increase we had was in 2020, and that was a pass-through increase due to Bucks as well.
Okay. That's good to know. But we decided to oppose the sale to Bucks County Sewer and Water Authority to Aqua because you told us that rates would increase significantly.
Correct.
Did we make a mistake in doing that?
No, Joe. What happens here is if Aqua was to purchase Bucks, and there's many figures going on out there, but one of the systems, I have a docket that states when they purchased the system and what the actual rate increases were. They purchased Limerick in 2018 for $75 million, and they had a rate increase of 82.21%. East Bradford, 63.97%. Cheltenham, 65.93%. And East Norton, 56.74%. So what happens with Aqua is for-profit, as you well know. So when they buy a municipality, they are under the Act 12, which is Act 12 is a Pennsylvania law that states and allows private entities to buy municipal entities. And in that process, they can buy an entity for more than it's worth. So with that being said, they take that cost and pass that on to all of the ratepayers throughout the entire system. Now, Aqua has roughly, I don't know how many million of customers, but what it is Aqua will take that and you're paying for repairs and stuff done on other municipalities throughout the system that they own. Now, Bucks, on the other hand, the Neshaminy Interceptor, there hasn't been much done to that in probably 60 years. So in this case, what was going to happen, Aqua was going to purchase Bucks, and then they would actually go out and they would get a bond or go to the PUC for one, and they would state what they needed in funds, bring that back, and then that would all be put together, and then everybody would have, a large rate increase. The rate increase, or I should say the dollar amounts that I'm seeing in the Newtown or the Doylestown patch, one says 210 million, the other one says 197 million. There is no fixed number yet, and as soon as I know, I can talk about that better, but we have two other phases, so there's going to be two other rate increases as well. The only other thing that I didn't speak of is we also have a rate increase driver, and that is Philadelphia. And we have no control over either one, Philadelphia or Bucks County, for our rates. Just like Northampton, Bristol, then Salem, right down the line. All them municipalities, all 13, flow into that Neshaminy Interceptor. So Bucks controls all of that.
And Warren, if I'm hearing you correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
There would have been a rate increase.
Yes.
There'd be a rate increase either way, and the projections are that it would be much greater if in the Aqua scenario.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. It could have been 3 times higher, than what would be normal. And yes, if Aqua was there, you would have probably seen rates go maybe 50, 75%. Only because of all the repairs that need to be done to all the systems on that, downstream, all the municipal entities. So what Bucks has to do, Bucks over the years has purchased probably, I think, well, they just purchased Bristol for 50 million. So what happens is when they come in and they purchase that, they also look at the infrastructure, and if the infrastructure is failing, then they have to look at that, and if there's any SSOs, which is sanitary sewer overflows, and DEP, they will write a consent order that, these repairs have to be made and these, these projects have to be done. So Bucks has, I guess, looked into that with these other, the other entities downstream, and they've come up now with a 3-phase project.
When you say 3 phases, do you have any idea whatsoever the timeline of those phases? If not,
I do not, Joe.
Okay.
I do not.
I didn't think so.
Sorry.
And that's okay.
The only other thing I'd like to just give you an example. We had went on some websites today. One would be, what do we got here? Lower Makefield. So Lower Makefield is Aqua owned, so this is a perfect example, okay? If you're a customer of Newtown Sewer Authority, you're going to pay, you were paying $68 a month here, or a quarter. You're now going to pay $82 a quarter, okay? If you're a customer of Lower Makefield, which is Aqua owned, you have a base rate for one single family home, $168.48 per quarter. So with that being said, the use of 10,000 gallons would be 164 plus 48, or I'm sorry, 160.48 plus 43.70 for a total of 204.18 a quarter. That is Aqua owned Lower Makefield. If you're a resident of Northampton, they have a lower minimum, 3,000 gallons a month is $45.15 per month. And if you total that for the quarter, it's $135.45, where our rates are, will be, or our rates are at now, $82 a quarter. If you're Yardley Borough does $15 per thousand, and they also have a $5 service charge on every bill they send out. That equates to roughly $50 a month, which is $150 a quarter. So if you take all three entities, Yardley Borough would be $150 a quarter, where we're $82. Northampton, $135.45, where we're $82. And this is Lower Make, Aqua owned, $204.18, where we're $82 for the quarter.
I was actually on the Sewer Authority's website today, and I found some information there. Where can people, what's the best source of information?
Oh, okay. Two things. We have the website there that's available. It is posted on there as well. You can call at any time, myself or Mike. Mike is our, I'm sorry, getting ahead of myself. Mike is the assistant manager, so he's there as well. You can call and talk to the staff. They know what's going on. And the only other thing is in the Doylestown patch, I just want to make everybody aware. This is out there on the web, and it's the Doylestown patch. So what the Doylestown patch did, it looks like Bucks announces and launches a $155 million campaign to upgrade the system. But if you go to the very rear of the page, and you can find this easily, just type in Bucks County, BCWSA. Bucks created a website now it's called buckscountyinvestments.org. And what they're doing is you're allowed to go on there, you can go on there and track the status of what that infrastructure projects are. But they do not break anything down, as of yet.
Well, I just want to mention that a resident did email me and was complaining about this increase and
Correct.
said he couldn't get through, and I called the number and I got some very helpful information about my own bill, and I, assume he should have been calling the number.
Absolutely.
Do you have a number that you could mention, the phone number? That
Oh, sure.
people should call?
The Sewer Authority number is 215-968-4109. And that is from 8 to 4:30 every day.
Any other questions, or?
Yeah, I have a few questions. Warren, in regards to these other townships that you mentioned, Lower Makefield, Northampton, did they operate their own sewer authorities? In other words, just for their particular townships? I know probably Northampton did.
Correct. Northampton did. Yardley, I'm not sure of, and Lower Make, I believe they did.
Okay. Whereas we're in a kind of a unique position because we're a joint sewer authority.
We are a jointure, correct.
Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, if there were to be a possible sale, which we hope will never happen, wouldn't it have to go through both the Board of Supervisors and the Council of Newtown Borough? And would the vote have to be unanimous among both?
Yes, that
I
is
think that's
correct.
a provision, that a safeguard that has been put in so that I'll call it a hostile takeover wouldn't happen. So-
About 62 years ago, the sewer authority was created by Newtown Township and Newtown Borough. Basically, at that point, it was created for the borough because of the need for public sewers in the borough, because of the clustering of the homes and so forth, and the old septic systems and so forth, and also water. So, it was a rather jointure, and what happens is Newtown Township appoints 3 members to our board, and the Newtown Borough appoints 3 members to our board. They're 5-year positions. But yes, to answer your question, that would have to go in front of the township supervisors and the borough council for approval to do that, and it would have to be unanimous, correct?
So that's somewhat of a protection.
Absolutely, yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone
Any
else?
others? Thank you, Warren.
Okay, thank you
very
for giving me the time.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Are you going to be going to the Borough Council as well?
I believe so, yes. Not till, I think, next week.
Okay, very good.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Mike.
Yep, bye-bye.
Okay. Don't see any minor approvals. Boards and committees and reports of board members. I have just very briefly want to point out that last Tuesday evening, we did our reorganizational meeting, not last night, but a week ago. And there were 3 committees that we could not appoint members because they lacked the ability to have a quorum. There was one committee that had 0 people send in their resumes. There was one that had 2 people for 7 members, so the quorum would have been 4. And another committee that had 3 members, but they needed 5 for a quorum. So those committees are Finance, Economic Development, and Technology. If anyone is interested, they can find the instructions for applying on the township website. They just need to send a letter, an email of interest to Olivia Kavenko. But again, those instructions are on the township website. That's all I had. Mr. Vice Chair, anything?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Snyder?
To me.
Yes?
Monday night, we had a meeting of the Environmental Advisory Committee, in which we continued working on our plastics ordinance. We're getting ready to bring that in front of businesses. Also, I attended the Joint Sewer Authority meeting, as I sit on the board there, so I'm aware of all the changes in price. Anybody ever has any questions, they can call me as well, and I can try to answer their questions, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Snyder. Mr. Calabro?
I have nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Calabro. Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have the Park and Rec report.
Park and Rec.
We have the pre-register today for the following upcoming programs. Intro to Dance. There's a Schools Out Art Workshop, Emoji Fest. There's Diet Confusion No More, and a Taekwondo class. On other announcements, we have 6-week summer camp registrations online. Register soon to save your spot. Early registration discounts available until March 30th. The winter spring 2023 newsletters should be in mailboxes, so look for those. And check newtownfund.com for most up-to-date information. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. That brings us to a public hearing. And Mr. Sander, would you like to?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly. This is a hearing to consider the application of Patrick and Teresa Lavin for a PRD variance from the final plan of Eagle View at Cliveden for property located at 169 Cliveden Drive to allow the construction of a patio roof over an existing patio in the rear of a single-family detached dwelling. which will exceed the minimum rear yard setback requirement of Eagle View at Cliveden's final plan. 30 feet minimum rear yard setback is required. The project will result in a 26.63-foot rear yard setback, or a difference of 3.37 feet. For the record, we have the application, the proof of publication, the proof of posting of the property, the Planning Commission's memo dated December 21st, 2022, and Remington Vernick Engineers letter dated December 15th, 2022. At this time, it would be appropriate to ask if the applicant is present, and if so, come on up to our podium and identify yourself for the record and let the board know what it is you want to do.
Hi, my name's Teresa Lavin. This started out with just putting a roof over the patio, and we had somebody come out and give us an estimate on it, and he told us he was going for the permit. So it was like 6 months, and he dropped off all his supplies in the back, and he found out that we were 3 feet short in the back because it's a planned community, but we don't have anybody in the rear of our house. Like they say, usually they butt up the two houses, and if you attach a roof to it, it interferes with the person on the other side. But we're all open space in the back. So when he found out he had to do all this work, he ghosted us, and we were out tons of money. So, right. So I found somebody that would use the, I don't even know if I can get them back yet, because it's been since the summer, that would do it, but he didn't even want to get involved with all this. So I said I would try to do it, get the variance for it. So I've been working on it, going back and forth with everybody, trying to get the variance for 3 feet in the backyard. And we don't have anything in the back. It goes back, there's a creek, and then there's like hundreds of yards out to 413. There's nobody out back. And we had both neighbors agreed to it. The HOA agreed to it. Nobody can believe what happened for 3 feet, like. So that's why I'm here.
Ms. Lavin, do you have a letter from the HOA?
Yes.
Could you hand that up if you could?
It should be in the packet.
I didn't see it. Of course, I didn't see the original application either. If it accompanied that, it may be a part of that packet, and I can probably get it from the township. But and did you have when you said the neighbors didn't mind, they also submitted? Okay.
It should all be in the packet.
I did not get it in my packet. That's all right. I'll get it. No problem.
They're fine with it. There's
Understood.
no problem at all.
Yep.
And then we had the sign out front for a couple weeks now.
Right.
That if
That's the
anybody-
posting. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay,
I saw
board
that-
questions?
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. I saw that the letters were listed. I didn't go hunting for them, but I'm glad they're there. And I would also add that the Planning Commission recommended that we approve this. So, in looking at what was left from the Remington Vernick letter, it was just almost literally dotting your i's and crossing your t's.
Right.
So,
Right.
any other comments from the board members?
I'm sorry that happened to you.
That's okay, thank you. It's principle now to get it done. It's been sitting out there for like a year and a half.
It's definitely a hardship at this point.
Yes.
It would be appropriate, Mr. Chairman, to ask for any public comment, if there is
Yes.
any, on this matter.
Any public comment?
Seeing none, if the board is of a mind, it would be a motion to grant the application of the Lavins, Patrick and Teresa Lavin, for a PRD variance to allow the project as described, subject to compliance with the Remington Vernick Engineers letter dated December 15th, 2022. The applicant following the Newtown Township PRD variance application guidelines for final submission and recording of the final approved plan, and the applicant paying all fees and costs due and owing to the township before the signing of final plans.
Would somebody like to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
I'll second it. Any other discussion from the board, from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving this variance, PRD variance, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that brings us to reports of professionals, officials, or engineer.
All right, thank you. First item we have tonight is 2022 Liquid Fuels Road Program Change Order Number 3. This change order just reflects balancing the actual quantities that were used in the field. So this reduces the contract amount by, let's see here, $63,452.70.
Okay, we have that. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion, Ms. Snyder. Have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion from the board? I did hear you say this is a decrease.
Correct, yep.
All right, I like that. Any opposed? Oh, wait a second. I should ask the public. Are there any discussion from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of paying this, adopting this change order, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, our next item is for also the 2022 Liquid Fuels Road Program. This is payment certificate number 3. Based on the work that's been completed to date, we recommend payment to Harris Blacktopping in the amount of $220,857.43.
Someone like to make a motion? Thank you, Mr. Davis. Second? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Mack. And I just had one question. Is this the last payment for 2023? Or for the 2022 road
There will
program?
be one other payment just based on the retainage once we get the maintenance bond.
Okay, gotcha. But the work is completed?
The work is done, yep.
Yeah. Any other comments from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of paying the payment certificate number 3, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
All right, next item is financial security release number 7 for the Mayfield development. Based on our inspection of the work completed, we recommend that the township release the amount of $82,350 to the developer from the financial security that's held.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Calabro. I'll second it, just to move things along here. So a motion and a second for Mayfield. Any further discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of paying this financial security release for Mayfield, release number 7, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-1.
All right, our next item was removed, so we're skipping down to authorize township engineer to work with Newtown Creek Coalition item. Basically, a resolution was put forth a few years ago regarding investigation into the feasibility of replacing a pedestrian bridge over Newtown Creek in connection with the Creek Coalition, Newtown Borough, and Newtown Township. So this resolution authorizes the township engineer to work with the coalition and the borough in order to submit a grant application later this year.
So, do we need to have a vote to reaffirm the resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest a motion to authorize the township engineer to coordinate and work with the Newtown Creek Coalition in accordance with the resolution that was adopted in 2019.
Okay. So that would be the motion, if someone would care to make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. We have any discussion?
I do have a question because I looked at the the resolution 2019 R20.
Yes.
It says we want to authorize the professionals to explore the requirements for such a project, including funding sources. And now one of the requirements that also was mentioned, or one of the benefits that was mentioned, was a connection with the Newtown Trail. So I hope when the engineers look at this, they try to consider how this bridge is actually going to connect up with the Newtown Trail, which ends at Goodnoe Elementary School and has to go through Frost Lane. And that's a very tough area in which to continue the trail. So I'm trying to think how Newtown residents will get access. And I hope that when the engineers look at that, they consider that a requirement.
Yep, that'll certainly be looked into.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? I know Mr. Sellers is here if we had any additional questions. He did the original presentation in 2019. Okay, seeing no other comments from the board, I'll ask the public if there's any comments from the public. Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of, let me get this right, authorizing the township engineer to work with the Newtown Creek Coalition in accordance with Resolution 2019 R20. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, thank you. All right, moving right along to the solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One item on our report this evening, the board, if it wishes, could entertain a motion to authorize our office to advertise an ordinance reducing the maximum speed limit on Washington Avenue / Newtown Yardley Road between Lower Dolington Road and the Newtown Borough line from 35 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour based on the traffic and engineering study performed by Remington Verdict.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. A motion and a second. Thank you. Any further discussion from the board?
Yeah, I just had a question about the procedure here. Can you go through, this is just advertising an ordinance to do this?
Correct.
What's the next steps after that?
The matter will be on your January 25th agenda, Mr. Mack, and the board will consider enacting that ordinance at the time. Once the ordinance is enacted, the appropriate authorities are authorized to erect the appropriate signs on the road that dictate the new speed limit according to PennDOT standards. I would defer to the engineer on the specifics of those processes, but once the ordinance is enacted, it's time to move forward with establishing that new speed limit.
So PennDOT does not have to approve the speed limit change, but there is some consultation with them regarding the signage, is that correct?
Basically, what we'll do is provide a signage plan in accordance with PennDOT guidance, which is just the overarching, authority here. We'll provide that to Public Works for them to erect the signs.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any idea how long that might take?
We're preparing the signage plan now, so as soon as this would go into effect, we'd be able to provide that, and then depending on the workload of Public Works, they could do that soon. Yep.
Thanks.
And we plan on having this on the agenda to vote on the 25th.
Correct, yep.
I did find one typo. It's on page 1 of the sample resolution that you gave us.
Yes, sir.
The next to last paragraph under the whereas, the third line down, it says Newtown Borough line in the nest interest. I think it's best interest.
Well, that's debatable. Maybe there are some birds out there that have nest interest. No, of course it should be best interest. And I will make that change before the final document. Thank you for your careful eye, Mr. Chairman.
Normally, I would have called you to let you know to change it.
No problem.
We're going to vote on it next time.
No, exactly. We will advertise the correct version and put the correct version on file for inspection and copying by the public.
Any other comment from the board? Any from the public? Please remember to state your name for the recorder.
Yes, Valerie Mahalik from the Newtown Walk community. First of all, thank you all for all of your help with getting us to this point. We truly appreciate it. My question is, before the actual signs go up, is there a flashing sign that goes up to notify motorists that these new signs are coming, sort of like before you install the traffic light? Usually there's a flashing light saying caution, speed limit changing, or anything like that? Or are the signs just installed, and how do motorists know that there's all of a sudden this change?
I can speak to that, yeah. So the signs are installed, and typically, again, our traffic engineer's not here, but there's speed reduced ahead signs. They're not flashing, but it's just a general type of signage alerting motorists that there is a speed change ahead.
And is that a temporary sign or a
No,
permanent sign?
it's a permanent sign, yep.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
yep.
Any other comments?
I think right now there is a, I don't know who issued it, I guess it's, who issued it? There's a flashing sign there now?
It's not there anymore, but.
It's not there anymore?
Yeah, it was there for like a month. Yeah, that's why I was asking, because it was flashing, alerting.
I didn't notice that it was gone, so
Yeah, it is gone.
okay, thank you.
I think they moved those signs around the township for various purposes. Maybe we move it back, I don't know. Okay, I was ready to call the question. All those in favor of, let me see, get the wording right. Consider authorizing the advertisement of the ordinance reducing the speed limit, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes our report.
All right, I'll go to Manager Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General fund balance as of this evening is $5,168,969. Planned expirations before the board with no action required. We have Chief Hearn to give his monthly chief's report. Evening, Chief.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, board members. As for December 2022 police report, we documented 1,835 calls for service, which was an increase of 4% from 2021. We logged 21,990 miles in patrol fleet. 19 arrests were made for the month of December, including a terrorist threat, a swatting incident, 2 thefts, 1 violation of Firearms Act, 9 narcotics, 1 warrant, fugitive from New York, and 5 DUIs. There are 14 cases referred to detectives and 1 crime scene processed, some of which were included was a terrorist threat, a theft from auto, 2 death investigations, multiple frauds involving checks and computer fraud, as well as several child line investigations. 67 traffic crashes, 99 traffic citations were issued, and 196 warnings were issued. We had 2 truck enforcement details on Durham and Fox Hill Road in Wrightstown and Upper Makefield, totaling 26 inspections, 15 citations, 12 warnings, 5 vehicles placed out of service. Notable jobs. Although it happened in January, it was January 1st, New Year's Day at 5:23 a.m. The Headley development, we did have a fatal fire involving a 76-year-old female. All our officers actually responded very quickly to the scene, and due to the flames and smoke, were unable to gain access into the property, and unfortunately, this female subsequently passed away as a result of the fire. On 12/20, we did have a SWAT activation, and our key members of our team, it was a high-risk search warrant with an arrest with no injuries outside of our jurisdiction, but our members participated in that. Public service announcements. Mailbox thefts are continuing. Please do not use the freestanding mailbox. Drop it off inside the post office or hand it to your postal delivery carrier. Postal inspector is still working on trying to replace that box on Terry Drive, and we are continually putting it out on social media. Scams, still too many scams involving grandparents and arrest and distress of your grandchild, utility shutoffs, dating apps, you name it. People are being scammed thousands and thousands of dollars. Do not give your personal information. Do not buy Bitcoin. Do not send information or your own personal information to other people you do not know who you're talking to. And finally, I would just like to thank the board again for your support of the police department, not only for our personnel, which you've seen tonight, but also our equipment and our training. I cannot do it without your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief?
Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you. Especially thank the officers who responded to the fire.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Chairman, I have one item for the board's consideration this evening. It's a memorandum of understanding has been included in the packets. This was the item we had discussed previously in executive session. It's a memorandum of agreement that establishes a secondary pension payment vehicle for police officers in the DROP program whose payments exceed the IRS 401A contribution limits. The next step after the memorandum of agreement is approved would be to amend the pension documents. So the appropriate motion is motion to approve memorandum of understanding with the PBA over the IROP plan amendments.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Calabro. You beat me to it. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any questions from the board? I had a question from, in the first paragraph, it says memorandum of understanding is entered to this day of blank, you fill in the blank the day, and it says 2022. Should it be 2023 now?
Yeah, we'll correct that.
Okay. That's all I have. Any further questions from the board? Any from the public? All right, seeing none, call the question. Those in favor of approving the memorandum of understanding for the PBA IROP plan amendments, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Moving on to minutes, bills, lists, and reports.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the December 21st, 2022 Board of Supervisors meeting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of approving the minutes of December 21st, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of our January 3rd, 2023 reorganization meeting.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you.
Did you make the correction?
Yes.
Thank you.
So there was a correction. I saw an email. It's been made, so that's good to go. Any other questions from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of approving the minutes of January 3rd, 2023, the reorganizational meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Finally, I'd like to make a motion, well, not finally, second to finally, to pay our bills in the amount of $672,301.72.
Motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor of paying our bills as listed on the January 11th, 2023 bills list, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1.
And now finally, I'd like to make a motion to approve our interfund transfers in the amount of $675,084.52.
A motion, do we have a second? A motion and a second. Any questions from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the interfund transfers as found on the January 11th bills list, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to our final round of public comment. Anyone wanting to give public comment can come to the podium. Seeing none. We'll move on to old business. Is there any old business? Any new business? I see it's on your microphone.
I tried to turn it off.
Okay. There's no need for an executive session this evening.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. And without objection then, I'll find us adjourned for the evening. Thank you.